Good morning. Welcome to your program, Your Agenda, here on Cignal TV, One News, Channels 8 and 250. I am your host, Cito Beltran, thanking you for joining us. And of course, thank you for being subscribers of Cignal TV and following us on Facebook as well as on YouTube. Maraming salamat po to those who also downloaded the Cignal Play app just to stay in touch with us. We thank you on this 23rd day of October 2023. So it's 10/23/23, Monday, and today we have a double header. First will be an update from the lawyers, from the legal representative of former Senator and Justice Secretary Leila De Lima on why she still remains behind bars in spite of so many witnesses recanting their testimony. Who is behind her continued detention? And after that, we will give a short focus on the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections. And you might wonder, why are we giving attention? Because apparently all from Abra, okay, north of the Philippines to all over the country, we have concerns, and it has been stated that 361 areas are now considered election hotspots. We are only choosing barangay captains and youth leaders, and yet when it is declared that there are 361 areas of concern or election hotspots. Ano ba yan? Guns, goons, and gold? Anyway, we will try to tackle that later. But in the meantime, let's start the day with our daily starter. And here is your daily starter. If you repeatedly have to tell someone the same exact thing about how you feel and nothing changes, understand they don't respect you. Whether you are a child, a parent, a student, a teacher, a boss, an employee, a leader, or a follower, when you keep saying and saying, telling these people exactly what you feel, your sentiments, or what needs to be done, and they don't do anything about it, well, that means that they don't respect you. It is no longer about whether, oh, they're just lazy, they forgot, or they have other priorities, because if you have consistently, and of course, if you have faithfully, fairly, properly expressed your concern, your sentiments, or your ideas, and it is still not given due consideration or nothing changes, then clearly those people don't respect you. And if that is the case, then it's time to think about the situation. You either move out or you remove them from your circle of associations. Of course, if you're an employee, that's not easy. If you're a boss, it might be easier, etc. But whatever it is, as I said in my previous daily starter, you cannot keep ignoring the red flags. If you already saw the signs, the warnings, the indicators that people just don't want to do something about it, then you have to do something about it. So yung po ang daily starter natin. Let's now go to our review of the front page of the Philippine Star, October 23, 2023. The headline, this is of serious concern. Philippine-China vessels collide off Ayungin. Chinese vessels executing dangerous blocking maneuvers collided with Philippine boats en route to deliver supplies to BRP Sierra Madre in Ayungin Shoal, according to the National Task Force for the West Philippine Sea. NTF WPS said Unaiza May 2, an armed forces of the Philippines contracted supply boat, was on a regular rotation and resupply mission to the Filipino military detachment manning the Sierra Madre at 6:04 a.m. yesterday when it was blocked by China Coast Guard vessel 5203. So ayan po, hindi na po playing chicken, bullying na. This is physical contact, this is bullying, this is blockade. This is operational blockade, and I do hope that the Philippine government takes firmer action, like not just filing diplomatic protests, but perhaps sending home some of the Chinese diplomats as a real show of contempt for this kind of behavior. At the top of the front page, Department of Agriculture declares rice supply stable until first quarter of 2024. And all of that is intended to make sure that people don't panic or that there is no more unnecessary importation. Meanwhile, as I mentioned earlier, Barangay Sangguniang Kabataan elections, 361 areas considered election hotspots. Okay, a week away from the October 30 Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections. Yan na po yan. So, areas are classified as red if there are occurrences of suspected election-related incidents, security threats posed by terrorist groups or partisan armed groups employed by candidates. Walang ya. If your candidates employ guns, goons, and ghouls for barangay positions, you are doomed if they are elected. Meanwhile, sad news, remains of OFW killed in Israel arrive home. Loretta Villaren Alacre, a 49-year-old Negrense caregiver killed in Israel, is finally home in Cadiz. It took almost 2 weeks for her remains to arrive in the country after she was killed in an attack staged by Hamas militant fighters in Israel October 7. She was among the 4 Filipinos killed in Israel by Hamas militant terrorists. Hindi lang po yan fighter, terrorist na po yan. Okay, so meanwhile, in a related story, Canada, the government of Canada has declared, based on their intelligence gathering, Israel did not strike Gaza hospital as alleged by pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian groups. And further down the front page, boost cybersecurity measures. Supreme Court orders judiciary personnel. The Supreme Court has ordered officials and personnel of the judiciary to strengthen cybersecurity measures to minimize the risk of cyber threats, as it issued guidelines to be followed by courts on proper cyber hygiene. The directive was in light of the recent data breach involving PhilHealth, where at least 13 million members have been affected. Okay, so there you go. Meanwhile, Senator Coco Pimentel calls for return 75 billion Maharlika funding to DBP and Land Bank. While the executive department is still perfecting the Maharlika Investment Fund, Senate Minority Leader Aquilino Pimentel III is calling for the immediate return of the 75 billion pesos to the government-run banks. Dapat lang naman kasi ang bilis niyong mag-turnover, hindi pa pala ayos yung padadala nyo ng pera namin. Meanwhile, political noise over CIF or Confidential Intelligence Fund won't deter House. Okay, the different members of Congress have lined up and have each taken a turn defending their actions regarding the Confidential Intelligence Fund brouhaha. The whole thing is, sino ba ang may gawa niyan? Kayo rin eh. You created that. You appropriated that. You created the problem. And now you are taking turns. And I am correct in that. One by one, every week, a congressman issues a press statement defending their integrity. Anyway, last but not the least, First Harvest, a prelude to a more sustainable future, a photo showing Jericho Go, Senior Vice President and General Manager of Robinsons, Lance Gokungwe, President and CEO of JG Summit Holdings, Danny D, Farm Top President and CEO, and Farm Top Vice President for Finance Administration, Lala Cruz D, showing freshly picked greens from Robinson offices headquarters in Cyberspace Alpha. Okay, and that is now something that all of us really need to take part in, do in our own homes or wherever you have a little space. Grow some vegetable, plant some trees, kahit nakapasupo yan, it will make a difference for the environment when all of us do it together. So that's all the news we have in the Philippine Star. And if you would, please buy a physical copy or get an online edition and read my column, C-Talk, where I talked about or wrote about my experience passing through the TSA or security check of the NAIA 3 recently, because you might learn a few things. They are now stricter, they are now more professional, but they continue to be confused about what you may and may not bring on board. Please read about it on today's Philippine Star. Let's now go for a quick break, and we go to our conversations with our guests here on Agenda.
his testimony together with fellow witness Nonilo Arile because they were, quote, bothered by good conscience, unquote. Magleo and Arile added that 5 additional unidentified witnesses will retract their statements in the coming days. Following this, Magleo has since been transferred to the New Bilibid prison. Despite several recantations from key witnesses, De Lima still faces challenges from some officials. Last September, Solicitor General Menardo Guevara filed a petition for certiorari before the Court of Appeals. Certiorari is a legal remedy used to seek a review of a lower court's decision. In this context, Guevara wants the CA to review Muntinlupa City Regional Trial Court Branch 204's decision clearing De Lima of a drug charge. De Lima has been detained in Camp Crame since February of 2017 over drug allegations. Let's discuss the matter on today's agenda. Attorney Dino De Leon serves as the legal counsel of former Senator Leila De Lima. He is a partner at the De Leon Arevalo Gonzalez Law Offices. De Leon earned his law degree from the De La Salle University School of Law.
Good morning, attorney. Welcome to the program agenda.
Good morning, Cito, and to all our viewers.
Okay, could you give us an update on all of the cases that has been filed against Senator De Lima, and what is prolonging the agony? Because based on media reports and information from the courts, many of those who have testified against the former senator and justice secretary have recanted. So there is now a strong public impression that there has never been a case, and all of these are all trumped up, false witnesses, etc. And yet the persecution or the prosecution continues.
Well, you are correct, Cito, and I would be happy to give that particular update in this greatest frame-up in Philippine history. There were multiple cases that were filed against Senator De Lima, 3 of which are non-bailable cases. We call it non-bailable because the bail petition is discretionary on the part of the judge. These are drug trading cases filed against Senator De Lima ever since Duterte called her enemy, and at the same time when she led the investigation against the violent war on drugs. So these 3 drug trading cases, criminal cases 165, 166, and 167, basically the allegations are almost the same. That is, Senator De Lima allegedly engaged in drug trading through National Bilibid prison inmates, and the witnesses mostly are convicted felons of crimes involving moral turpitude, and the only difference in these 3 cases are the material dates. These the dates supposedly are from 2014 all the way up to even after the 2016 elections. So the drug trading cases, supposedly if it's a drug trading case, the reason why it's not bailable is because it involves drugs. But in these particular cases, it is noticeable that not a single gram of any kind of drug was offered in evidence. Secondly, there was no trail of money, even if it's supposed to be a drug trading case. In fact, one of the witnesses of the prosecution, an anti-money laundering counsel investigator, even categorically said that there is no evidence whatsoever or no investigation whatsoever linking Leila De Lima in any illegal flow of money. Okay, so that's the second thing. It's noticeable that there is no improper flow of money, even if it's a drug trading case. So what is left in the evidence of the prosecution? Usually, it's just the testimonies of usually convicted felons. And 5 of the convicted felons have 4 of the convicted felons have already withdrawn their testimonies or recanted their testimonies. 2 other witnesses also have recanted their testimonies. No, so if we're going to take a look at it, these are Kerwin Espinosa, Adorco, So that's the second one. The third one is Rafael Ragos. If you would recall, Rafael Ragos was the star witness of the prosecution in criminal case 165, who was formerly the deputy director of the National Bureau of Investigation and the officer in charge of the Bureau of Corrections. We also have the two witnesses right now. So we have Kerwin Espinosa, Dorco, Deputy Director Ragos, Ronnie Dayan, and now we have Magleo, a former major, and at the same time Danilo Arime, a former police sergeant. All of them um, consistently said that the only reason why they testified against Leila De Lima was because they were coerced, their lives were in danger, and the lives of their respective families. So these are a total of six prosecution witnesses, and the last two, including Magleo, last Monday was supposed to be presented by the prosecution. And when he was presented to the witness stand, but prior to him being presented to the witness stand, he handed a letter to Senator Leila De Lima. And when he was already in the witness stand and took his oath, he actually confirmed the existence of the letter and said that that is his signature. And the reason why he was doing that was because his life was in danger in Sablayan and that he is bothered by his conscience. So as far as we are concerned, the recantation is already official because he was already under oath when he made it before the judge. And in fact, the prosecution had the ability or at least the opportunity to ask questions insofar as Magleo is concerned, but they chose not to do so. In fact, they dispensed with Magleo as their witness because they said that he has turned hostile to their cause.
Okay, now you might have missed a key point which was mentioned in the video, which was being challenged by I forgot his position now, Maynard Gonzalez, is it? This petition for certiorari for a case that had been dismissed by the Muntinlupa RTC. What was that all about?
Okay, so as I mentioned, there were three cases, two of which have already been dismissed by the court. In criminal case 166, the reason why it was dismissed was because our demurrer to evidence was granted. A demurrer to evidence basically is a motion to dismiss on the ground of lack of sufficient evidence. The evidence presented by the prosecution was not sufficient to prove Leila De Lima's guilt beyond reasonable doubt. That's in criminal case 166. That was the first case that was dismissed. In criminal case 165, our demurrer to evidence was initially not granted, but considering the recantation of former Deputy Director Ragos, we refiled a case, the motion to dismiss on the ground of the petition for, or the motion for, or the demurrer to evidence, and then that was eventually granted by the court as citing the recantation of former
Ragos.
Deputy Director Ragos as the reason, because he is the only reason cited by the previous judge on why our demurrer to evidence was not granted. In other words, there is no anchor anymore insofar as the case of the prosecution is concerned, and that was granted by the court. And he said that the recantation proves that there is reasonable doubt in this particular case. So it is quite disappointing that the OSG allowed itself to be used, even though it violates the most fundamental doctrine in criminal law. That is, once there is an acquittal, that shouldn't be reviewable by the courts unless there is grave abuse of discretion. Now,
no, and I mean, common sense, you don't have a witness. Your witness recanted, you don't have a case. What are you asking a review for? Naku, maswerte, hindi ako justice. Talagang here's 1 peso, go back to law school.
Alam mo naman, ang sinasabi nila, hindi raw dapat paniwalaan yung recantation na yun. No? So this is unbelievable, considering that it is the most basic in criminal law that that an acquittal is not reviewable by higher courts unless, and they're using this exception, there's grave abuse of discretion. When you say grave abuse of discretion, Cito, it's not just abuse of discretion. Abuse of discretion of judges are not reviewable. It's grave abuse of discretion. The grave there has a purpose. That means, let's say, for example, sabi ng judge, feeling ko lang,
Yeah,
gusto ko siya
or
i-acquit. That is grave abuse of discretion.
or in spite of the black and white statement of the law, you refuse to follow the law. That's grave
Correct.
abuse.
That's
But
a grave
in this
abuse. In this
case-
particular instance, clear. The court cited its basis, and the basis is there is a clear recantation. And in fact, Rafael Ragos was cross-examined by the prosecution close to 3 hours, I think. So
Yeah, and
where
not-
is grave
not
abuse of
only
discretion there?
Not only that, you provided the witness. We stood by the testimony of your witness. Your witness recanted, so therefore you have no case. You cannot question the validity of that recantation because in the first place, that was your witness. You should have ensured the integrity of his testimony. Ay, nako, ba't
Yes,
ba ako
correct.
nagtuturo ng law? Hindi naman ako lawyer.
You know, Cito, I just have to say this, To begin with, the case is weak because you know what was the testimony of Rafael Ragos? Do you want me to recall? Give me just a few seconds to recall what his testimony it was. He woke up one day inside his quarters, okay? Inside his quarters in the National Bilibid prison, there was all of a sudden a pack of money beside him. He didn't know where it came from. And then he received a call from an anonymous person, from an anonymous voice, and then that anonymous voice asked him to bring the money to Leila De Lima. So ginawa mong messenger bigla yung Bucor chief na hindi mo kilala, ito namang Bucor OIC, dinala yung pera sa boss niya, Leila De Lima, who was well known to be against corruption during that time, and dahil pinakulong mga corrupt officials, and then all of a sudden went to her house, gave the money. That was the tenor of his testimony. In fact, it was so incredible right from the very start.
No,
but it
wait
was
a
believed
minute.
by the previous judge.
Did he, in fact, physically go with the money and presented it personally to De Lima?
That is his claim. That is his claim. Of course, these are all lies, and he withdrew that particular statement before. But his claim was he went all the way to her house. That was his how absurd his claim
para
was.
yan yung impeachment case kay Erap na sinabing someone left an envelope at my gate for the impeachment of President Erap Estrada. Ay nako po. But anyway, Dino, here's the big question, okay? How can this circus, and I dare call it a circus, continue? You have 6 witnesses recanting. You have no physical evidence, not even 1 stick of jute or marijuana. You do not have the paper, the money trail. The anti-money laundering expert declares that there is no money trail. Why does it persist? And who do you suspect is behind it? Because, you know, a lot of people are pointing their fingers at a former government official, and sabi ko, teka, parang hindi naman ganun yata malalim magtanim yung taong yun. So, you know, people are really now asking us in media that question. Who's behind this? Because it is extraordinary vindictiveness.
Well, it's really a circus, you know. It shouldn't have gone this far. There is no iota of evidence linking Leila De Lima to drug trading. This has also been condemned by the most credible international groups. The United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detention, a special rapporteur, a special mission sent to the Philippines, said the detention of Leila De Lima is arbitrary and it is a political persecution. Now, back to your question, who is behind this? No. If you will ask, or if you will believe the testimony of Rafael Ragos, which was believed by the court in criminal case 165, which is why it got dismissed, he was pointing at Aguirre, former Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre. But if you would ask Leila De Lima, it is very clear. It is Rodrigo Duterte who is behind all of these persecution. All of the words of Rodrigo Duterte point to that particular conclusion. He confirmed that, in fact, Leila De Lima will go to jail she will rot in jail, and I'm quoting exactly how she said it. He said it. You will rot in jail, Leila De Lima. You are finished. That's what Rodrigo Duterte said. And then after Leila De Lima led the investigations against the war on drugs, the entire machinery of the state all of a sudden was used to persecute Leila De Lima and to send her to jail. So who is behind this? It's still Rodrigo Duterte and the Duterte administration and his cohorts.
Are you really convinced about that? Because, you know, in many instances, when a president no longer sits in power, it's hard for him to continue whatever agenda he has or she has.
Well, Rodrigo Duterte is still very powerful and influential. He is still very popular. No, we would hope that the Marcos administration continue would treat Leila De Lima better, right? But even Menardo Guevara, for example, was an appointee of Rodrigo Duterte, right? I'm
Okay.
not saying that this administration has nothing to do with the continued persecution of Leila De Lima. They should be able to show that they mean well, of course, and we are hoping that they would. But as to why Leila De Lima is in jail, that is, of course, because of Rodrigo Duterte in the past administration. Why
Okay,
is he
but
that she
but
continues to be in jail? It is the entire justice system that must be accounted for, that must
well,
be held accountable.
that's where I was going to go. We would still like to imagine or believe that we have balance of power, check and balance. What are the sabi nga nila ito nagagalit daw yung mga the kings or the gods of Padre Faura doing about this, because this really, you know, is a farce. When she continues to go to jail, have to go to hearings, etc. Can't anybody do anything about this? Because you put aside all the personalan or the personal vindictiveness. At the end of the day, you said it correctly. It's all the justice system is accountable. Who can do something about this?
Well, to be fair, the Supreme Court released an order before saying that the criminal case 167, the last remaining case, was be finished in a year. That was just this year, you know. So the Supreme Court is doing something about this now. They are looking at this case very closely, but still, it doesn't cancel out the fact that there is something wrong with our justice system. And you know, that is the entire justice system, unfortunately, because as we mentioned, it shouldn't have gone this far. So as to what would that be, I think it's up to the public to decide as to what is exactly wrong. But the facts are clear. Leila De Lima, despite her innocence, is now in jail for the last close to 7 years.
7 years.
This is going to be the 7th Christmas of Leila De Lima if she is not set free before that. But I just want to say also as part of the update that we still have a bit pending motion for reconsideration on our petition for bail, and we are hoping that that would be granted before Christmas, so that Leila De Lima, for the first time in the last more than 6 years, would spend her Christmas outside of prison walls.
Okay, well, I thank you very much, attorney, and thank you for the time and the you know, giving us an update. We do hope that this miscarriage of justice, this vindictiveness would all be put behind us. And please do give our regards to Secretary De Lima, Senator De Lima, and we pray for her. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cito, and good morning once again.
Okay, and that is the counsel of Secretary Senator Leila De Lima, Attorney Dino De Leon, giving us an update. And forgive me if I was a little emotional about that matter, because, ladies and gentlemen, being vindictive, yung mapaghiganti, or you know, using the justice system for personal agendas, that is just so wrong in all levels. We'll go for a quick break, and when we return, let's go to another issue of concern regarding the Barangay Sangguniang Kabataan elections. There are concerns that it might be manipulated as well. And if you're wondering why that would happen, well, barangay captains have influence on voters who in turn are also transformed into political capital. We will go to a break. When we return, let's discuss that here on Agenda.
The Commission on Elections or Comelec has expressed concern over the killing of Barangay Councilor candidate Catalino Turalba Sr. in Bukay, Abra. Turalba was shot by unknown assailants on October 17, 2 days before the official start of the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections or BSKE campaign period. Comelec Chairman George Garcia is also coordinating with the Interior Department regarding reports of 122 candidates in Abra backing out from the elections. Many of them are reported to be from Bukay. The Comelec has also issued show-cause orders against 341 BSKE candidates over alleged campaign violations like oversized campaign posters and installation of campaign materials in unauthorized areas. Prior to this, election watchdog Kontra Daya warned of the possibility of electoral fraud in the upcoming BSKE on October 30. How can we make the upcoming BSKE free from political harassment and corruption? Let's further discuss this on today's agenda. Maded Batara III is the spokesperson of Kontra Daya, an election watchdog comprised of various organizations and individuals. A summa cum laude computer science graduate of UP Diliman, Batara is also the Deputy Public Information Officer of the Computer Professionals Union.
Good morning, Maded. Welcome to the program agenda.
Thank you, Paul. Good morning, Sir Cito.
Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, many of you have this sentiment or this idea that, it's just the barangay and the SK elections. It's no big deal. It's so tiny, etc. But apparently, the Kontra Daya group does not think so. Now, Maded, you issued the statement regarding the importance or how the barangay and the SK elections becomes a source of corruption. Could you kindly elaborate on that, Maded?
Well, we know that the barangay elections is that's the testing ground, right? That's the basis where a lot of political clans start their journey, right? So it's also a hotbed for nepotism. It's a hotbed for corruption. Right now, we've seen a lot of incidents of harassment, of political rivalries essentially flaring up. Kaya we think that really, if anything, especially since there are around 600,000 positions that are currently being contested in the BSKE, those are 600,000 opportunities for electoral fraud for political clans trying to gain power within their local barangays. It's a test bed for future political careers, for corruption, right? For the entrenchment of essentially what is the existing very dirty political system here in the Philippines.
Okay, in your statement, you assailed or criticized the Comelec regarding their plans of having a special area of operation for automated election in Quezon City. Now, most people would say, di better para sandali lang tapos na yung eleksyon. Why is Kontra Daya contra to this Comelec plan?
It's the same reason why we're against the automated election system, even in the national and local elections. Since 2010, we've been critical of the lack of transparency with regard to the automated election system, the numerous breakdowns, and it seems now we are prioritizing the speed over, we think is more essential, which is the fact that people should be aware of how their votes are being counted. Even in the 2022 elections, we still have concerned groups raising certain concerns, right? Certain allegations of irregularities in the 2022 elections regarding how there were many irregularities, there were many lapses, and even the Comelec itself admitted that the 2022 elections was not as transparent, that they're trying to move forward for that. And we think that the core of that is the fact that in an automated election system, we cannot trust that our vote is being counted accurately because it's being counted by a very opaque machine, right? It's a machine that counts our votes. And so transferring that to the local elections now, we think it will do more harm than good, right? People lose the ability to see whether their votes have been counted for a very small increase in speed, which is not really needed in the barangay election since there's no canvassing that's going on.
Okay, now there was a lot of concern and warnings and preemptive action taken regarding money laundering, vote buying, etc. For the barangay elections, and people are wondering, is the vote buying just to get elected, or is the vote buying a process where barangay captains give out the money not only to be voted, but to send out the message or establish their ability to pay for votes for the next presidential election, might I say?
Yeah. I think it's both. I think we're definitely seeing like the merge of course, traditional clans trying to exert their power in the electoral space, right? There are many political clans that start off their journey, or essentially they're already entrenched in certain barangays, but now we've seen that um, people there are positions being played that will make a very big effort in the 2025 elections, right? We've seen many candidates tying themselves very closely to the administration, tying themselves very closely to people currently in position. For example, there was this issue of um, people who were essentially forwarding the administration agenda on social media now running as Sangguniang Kabataan officials.
Okay.
Yeah, and we think that that essentially states what the state of the BSK is now. It's essentially a mixture of old political clans and now new political people, like new politicians trying to gain ground and tying themselves closely to already established administration bets so that they can gain power and hopefully, right, have that political machinery in place for the 2025 elections and beyond.
Okay, Maded, we'll go for a quick break. We just have to do some technical adjustments with your video feed. But when we return, I'd like to tackle a very disturbing and the matter that concerns public safety. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Okay, welcome back to your program Agenda, and we continue our conversation with Maded Batara III, spokesperson of Kontra Daya. Maded, I just, well, to begin with, when the reason we picked up on this issue was about 2 weeks ago or a week ago, there was a big news item regarding 100 or more candidates in Abra withdrawing their candidacy. One candidate was shot, I believe, killed, and a thing like that would steer national interest and national attention. But parang it was treated just as another election-related incident. What is the reaction of Kontra Daya and your associated groups?
I definitely this shows how violent and how dirty the local elections can get. Actually, I think a while ago there was another report of a murder of a kagawad, a kagawad candidate in Masbate. So these issues of election violence, it feels like it's normal now. It feels like it's normal to see how dirty the barangay election is, and we kind of cast it off because we have this notion that it's just the barangay elections, when really it's one of the most important political exercises, and the barangay is one of the most important local LGUs. And we think that having political violence normalized like this simply shows the character of the local election system in the Philippines, which is very dirty. And we call on the Comelec to institute drastic reforms. I think this really states that the actions done in the Comelec, while very welcome, right, to ensure that there's no political violence, that there is minimal fraud, the Kontra Epal and the Kontra Bigay campaigns by the Comelec, while very laudable, we think it's not enough. We still need widespread reforms, not just here, not just for the barangay elections, but moving forward, how do we prevent local dynasties, right, local warring clans, warring tribes from essentially manipulating our election system, our voting system in this manner?
Yeah, but Maded, how do you think it's really about, if I will quote you, the character of local elections, or is it the profitability of political positions in barangay and the Sangguniang? Because when I compare from when I go through the history of local elections, there was a time when you went house to house, you gave leaflets, and then you would have rallies, etc., or motorcades. But now it's a production in itself. You have a uniform, you have campaign colors, you have campaign uniforms, you have uniform billboards, you have I just flew in from Cebu and I saw meetings de avance as if they were running for mayor, and I was saying all that money that goes into campaigning in the last 2 weeks, okay, is it about serving or is it about earning?
It's definitely about, I think, earning. I definitely think that is the character of the local election. It's a business, right? It's the same as essentially the barangay elections have taken a characters very similar to the national elections, especially when you get down to the very small localities where people the race is really just to para habulin the large money, right? The large sums of money that comes with being in an electoral position. Right?
Yeah, but has there been a study on this, Maded? Sorry, no? Because it just occurred to me, barangay, lahat ng tao sa barangay kilala mo. Yung barangay mo, you can walk, you can circumnavigate your barangay, you more or less know the leaders and the key personalities, and that people would kill each other in the barangay. And you were saying that, warring political clans. Political clans fight because of money and territory and power. At the barangay level, ganun na ba kasama?
There is a large sums of money talaga that comes with the barangay election. I think that's what people are fighting for right now, right? There's a For example, the barangay and SK positions, they come with budgets, they come with salaries, right? And
Mhm.
at this point, when the politics in the country is this dirty and this rooted in the desire to take power for money, and especially since, right, we now have very powerful national political personalities, where linking yourself very closely with those national personalities is almost a surefire way to actually get elected, right? I've gone around and seen like many candidate posters linking themselves to national political parties instead of building their own local brand. They're kind of like linking themselves that, hey, I am the candidate that is supported by this national personality. And I think you're really right that it's now that it seems like it's so much easier to like tie yourself to a national candidate and then ensure that by tying yourself, you're essentially one shot. Yeah, you're riding on the popularity. It's a one shot way to whatever position that you want. That's an easy way to get money, essentially.
Yeah,
So that's why it's so
which
dirty right now.
explains why they're using the national colors of certain political parties.
Mhm.
They're the reds, there are the red, white, and blue,
Mhm.
there are the greens. Ang wala lang akong nakita, yellow. So obviously that reflects the political environment now. And you're very correct.
No.
They also get a lot of money. They get a lot of money from mayors who in turn will ensures if they get money from mayors, it ensures that there will be peace in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And so we see, yeah, 2025, that's probably going to be a big role in 2025. Now, these local machineries, who can they elect and who can they campaign for?
Okay, well, thank you very much, Maded Batara. I'm sorry, but that transmission from Maded just froze, so we're going to have to finish it at that. But thank you, Maded Batara III, spokesperson of Kontra Daya, and I do hope that that conversation serves as a reminder to many of you. It is not a simple election for little positions of barangay captain and SK, because in Metro Manila alone, the funds collected from business establishments, funding from national government that goes to barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan is huge, and that is why people spend millions to get elected. Mayors want to make sure that the barangay captains elected are their party mates or their people. So there you have it. Okay, let's go to our blessing for the week, and it comes from First Chronicles chapter 28 verse 20. David also said to Solomon, his son, "Be strong and courageous and do the work. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord God, my God, is with you. He will not fail you." Okay, and that is a reminder for all of us, even for myself, as we all do the work, whatever the work is, and that we should not be discouraged. I hope you have a great week ahead of you. Thank you for joining us this morning, and we hope to see you in the other programs. And please keep it here on One News.